Hey out there, this is Kevin Strong with Strong Jacobson Associates, and today is Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020. And in this video, I kind of want to talk about the mortgage forbearance situation, give you my 2 cents about that and my perspective about the housing market, and we'll probably leave it at those 2 topics. So without further ado, let's get into some of the information that I wanted to share with you. I think the real number of people who are actually in forbearance is around 3 million. I think that number is being underreported. Once again, I think the narrative is being controlled because they don't want to cause a national panic. We all know there is a huge dichotomy when you compare what's happening in the stock market to what's happening in Main Street. And I don't think anybody believes that their unemployment rate is below 10%. We all know somebody probably directly or indirectly who is either unemployed or who has had their wages cut back since this health crisis emerged in March of this year. So let's talk a little bit about this mortgage forbearance, because I've spent a lot of time on it doing research and talked about it in several videos in the past. But it's a very, very alarming thing because, once again, this is keeping the housing market artificially pumped up. One component of it being pumped up. The other component is just the Fed just keeping this inflated asset, real estate, propped up because it's so connected to the local economy. So for most people, that is one of their biggest cash out transactions that goes into retirement. And they just don't want to mess with that. But I think inevitably it will implode. Once again, the caveat is that everything is local. So when this thing finally unravels, there will be pockets of real estate that either sustained or potentially go up, where other areas just go in the opposite direction. So back on the forbearance, what I was saying is that 80% of the folks who are in forbearance have to basically go back into forbearance after 6 months. So this forbearance program, national program, kind of started around the 3rd week in March, I believe around March 23rd or something like that. So in most cases, you get a 6 month, you can get up to 6 months, and then you can extend it for another 6 months. So March of 2021, for a lot of people, is going to be the end all in terms of, hey, you've been in a mortgage forbearance for 12 months. So what happens now? You're going to have to be able to prove to the lender that you can afford that house. There are some lenders out there that I'm hearing from my research that are going to honor their commitment. That, hey, during this health crisis and during all this time where you didn't make a mortgage payment, when you come out of mortgage forbearance, let's say hypothetically you were in it from March 2019 till March of 2020, all 12 months goes on the back of the loan. That's fine. But most lenders are still going to want to know, moving forward, how are you going to pay for your mortgage payment? Right? So if you go to them, or you have gone to them in the past, and says that your income has been affected by the health crisis, and now that mortgage forbearance has expired, you're going to have to prove to the lender that you've got sustainable, verifiable income. Unemployment doesn't count. Stimulus checks do not count. So you're going to have to prove to them that you've got income to pay this mortgage. If you don't, that leads you to one or two choices. Obviously, I shouldn't say one or two. You've got a couple options. You can look at loan modification, which is something I'm targeting to help people stop foreclosure and stay in their house, and hopefully help them negotiate a lower payment. You can do a short sale, but that means you have to leave the home. I think loan modification is going to be a big thing. Not to say, excuse me, that it's easy to do, because it's not. But once again, because of affordability and the affordability crisis, a lot of people are going to hang on to these homes after mortgage forbearance because they, cannot afford the house that they live in, because that inflated asset has been rising at a much rapid rate than their wage, right? The housing prices in most areas have gone up way faster than the average wage earner. It's not even close. So it's not like you could go back in 2008 where you could just throw the keys at the lender and then go live somewhere else, because even rent is getting out of control. So a lot of these people do not have a plan B. So I think that if the loan modification doesn't work for some of these folks, they'll either have to look at probably a Chapter 13, which is a reorganization of debt, or just stall the process out and make the lender force a foreclosure on them. So very, very ominous situation. So in September, 48 million people were behind on rent and or mortgage. So very interesting statistic. And something else I was thinking about too, which is kind of like a non-mortgage thing, but this is why I tell people all the time, you got to solve your own pain because your pain is local. It took from March till December for us to get this other stimulus package or whatever. It basically took over 6 months. So when the mortgage forbearance moratorium expires the end of January of 2021, do you really think between now and January of 2021, which is approximately 40 days from now, you think they're going to have another package, stimulus package passed? Even when President Biden-elect takes office, I believe he takes over January 14th to 20th, somewhere between the second and third week of January. The point being is that it's very unlikely that you're going to get another package that soon. Do I think there's several coming in 2021? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I also want to take this opportunity to thank, we'll just use her first initial, L, who communicated with me back and forth offline, said, hey, Kevin, I don't really understand this cashless society, and what's your 2 cents on housing? I was more than happy to elaborate and extract some of the things that I thought were going on when it comes to a digital dollar and the housing market. So I do appreciate her time as well. And I do pretty much answer everybody's emails in detail. I just don't give you a 1 or 2 answer reply. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to talk about that. But yeah, this is a very, very scary situation because, like I said, this housing thing is being underreported. All of this cash, all of this quantitative easing is going somewhere, right? And in retrospect, when you look at it, it's gone in 2 major places, the stock market and the housing market. But for all practical purposes, our financial system as we knew it actually died in 2008. That's when I believe President Bush at the time had to intervene to stop the whole financial markets from collapsing. That was supposed to be the end of our fiat currency. Some of you don't know, so I'm just giving you this for edification purposes, but most systems, like the dollar bill, it's not real money. It's a debt instrument. It's basically an IOU, but it's a fiat currency. Most fiat currencies only last about 50 years throughout history. And we have broken the mold on that. Hence, this is why I think they're purposely devaluing the dollar to switch us over to some other currency for control and all this other stuff. So I know I kind of went off on a tangent about that, but I wanted to talk about the forbearance because that's a big, big issue with a lot of people, because a lot of people just simply are not going to be able to maintain or resume their normal mortgage payment after forbearance. People who have FHA and VA loans are extremely vulnerable because typically those are low money down loan programs, and a lot of those people are going to be looking at no equity because you're looking at 4 to 6% commission for a real estate agent, 2 to 3% in closing costs. So if you went with 3.5% down, or if you did a VA loan with no money down within the last couple of years, you may not have any equity. Or if you did go and put a little bit of money down, but you've been in mortgage forbearance for the last 12 months, that's taking away from your equity. Because remember, the lender's taking all those missed payments and putting it back on the loan. So that's stripping equity out. So I hope you found this video in a good place. Please comment and share because I care. And you know my motto, please pay down your debt before your debt gets a hold of you. And my simple company tagline, consumer and business debt relief.